are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, Boy on Twitter, and here to talk today about Auburn football and Auburn basketball. But before we do, I got a little notification this morning. It's currently Sunday morning. I'm pre-recording this show because I will be on the road during our usual meeting time. I'm currently in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Panthers game today, so hopefully I will be celebrating a Panthers win. But regardless, I got a notification this morning, and today is the 2-year anniversary of the College Loop. First episode went up December 22nd, 2022, where it was just me, Tar, and Daniel just sitting there awkwardly talking about Auburn football. And now here the College Loop is 2 years later, thriving 937 subscribers. And I appreciate every single one of y'all. And I appreciate everyone who's helped us along the way. My now fiance, y'all basically been around for the almost the entirety of our relationship, starting in August of that year. And then, of course, now here we are, engaged and almost to 1,000 subscribers over here. Shout out to my family for always making sure that whenever I needed to be home on time, that whenever we were out, I would be able to leave in time to go record. And of course, I was going to shout out the War Report for giving the College Loop an opportunity to expand and grow into what we are today. And I appreciate every single one of basically anybody who's ever liked, commented, subscribed, or just watched a video. I appreciate y'all wholeheartedly for the help that y'all have been to the growth success that we've seen so far in the College Loop. But as we move on to today's episode, Auburn got a couple of commits through the transfer portal. We'll save one for the next conversation in a second. Auburn able to pick up a kicker out of the portal out of Southern Miss, Connor Gibbs. Last year for the Golden Eagles, 10 of 13, which is good for it says 76%. I'm going to give him 80% on that. He missed one from 30 to 39, missed one from 40 to 49, and missed one from 50 plus, but made three out of each of those. 10 of 14 in his career. In his freshman year, he missed the one kick he attempted. But his long of the year last year was 59 yards. So you get a guy with a great leg who, he's pretty accurate. Auburn as a team did not kick the ball well last year at all. And pretty much a reason why Auburn lost a few of the games they did was because of their inability to make kicks when needed. But yeah, this is a great pickup for Auburn in general. You got depth now at the kicker, and because I want to say right now, you got 4 kickers on the roster. You got Ian Vachon, you got Connor Gibbs now, and of course you got McPherson and Magoo, all presumptively coming back for the year. But it's a great acquisition for a team that desperately needed to have people who can make field goals, because you're still testing, make sure that you can get McPherson back 100% next year. And if you can, you're solid right there. But if McPherson can't, you need guys who can go in and make those kicks, from 40 plus yards. And you really need that whenever you're playing SEC competition, where sometimes scoring points isn't so easy, unless you're Ohio State last night, who did not struggle whatsoever in playing Tennessee, which is just so funny to me that the 12-team playoff just crumbled and failed already, because I think all the top seeded teams won. So yeah, now it's just they should have won 8 teams before they went on to 12. It should never have been 4 to 12. It should have been 4 to 6 or 4 to 8. And then if it looked good enough, then you can talk about 12. But I think all talks of 16 teams in the playoffs desperately just fell off, and it should not have happened. Another commit Auburn picked up was a tight end, their first tight end commit of the transfer portal cycle. Maryland tight end Preston Howard becoming the second year in a row Auburn picked up a tight end out of Maryland with Rico Walker coming in last year. 2-year player at Maryland, caught 1 touchdown in his 2 years. Surprisingly enough, he caught it against the Auburn Tigers in the bowl game. But yeah, not really utilized too much. 24 catches, 189 yards last year, 7.9 yards per catch. But at 6'4", 231, a big target. And Auburn needs tight ends. You lost, you lose Deal, you lose Riley, you lose Micah, and you lost Valdo. So you have plenty of open spots available. Of course, you're bringing in Ryan Gee and Hollis Davidson to help replace some of those production. But I don't know how much you see true freshmen right away for the 2025 season. But yeah, it's a good pickup. I would love to see more of him. It's kind of hard to get highlights of Howard because he was so underutilized. So I'll be interested to see how he gets utilized for Auburn next year. Auburn, of course, didn't really utilize tight ends a whole lot last year. Valdo Fairweather, famously underutilized when needed. It's like fourth quarter, we're down by 17. Let's start throwing at the Valdo. Should never have been that way regardless. But with that, another portal acquisition player Auburn made. I'm going on moving to the next conversation piece here. Horatio Fields committed to the Auburn Tigers last year for the Wake Forest Demon Deacs. 39 catches, 463 yards, and 4 touchdowns, averaged 11.9 yards per catch. And he also had 4 touchdowns. Again, I would probably say he's also a little underutilized, but I think it could also be that Wake Forest wasn't all that great last year. So didn't get a chance to utilize him a lot, but he had some games where he showed out. He had 6 catches, 84 yards versus Duke, and a touchdown in that game. Against ULL, he had 81 yards in that one with 6 catches. And after that, his best game was 4 catches for 60 yards against the Virginia Cavaliers. But a lot of his routes, I mean, from the highlight video I watched, because I didn't watch Wake Forest last year. I don't think any Auburn fan really can say they watched Wake Forest last year. But a lot of his routes were just ways for a for sure handed wide receiver to get for sure yards. And, it was a lot of out routes and curls and, excuse me, and just ways of him to get open quickly and for the quarterback to get him the ball, which is, I don't want to say that's what Auburn wanted to utilize KLS for, because KLS was definitely a more of a home run threat. But last year, a lot of Auburn's drops happened on key downs. Those second down and longs, or that turned into third and longs, and then Auburn just couldn't get the ball moving during that. So you get a guy who last year for Wake Forest was able to get a lot of those first downs for Wake Forest when they needed it. You run a curl route, you get open, and the quarterback finds you, gets you the ball, new set of downs. And, of course, Auburn's still waiting around for Eric Singleton. I still think Auburn is the favorite to land Singleton, who would be the KLS replacement moving forward. Which does beg the question, if you get Eric Singleton, you already brought in Horatio Fields. If you bring in Eric Singleton, and then you talk about the wide receiver core last year, who was it was really good with KLS, Ken Coleman, Malcolm Simmons all showing out. But you lose KLS, and I think I can't remember if Robert Lewis is left or not, or is out of eligibility, but you lose KLS, who was your best receiver up there, and just best receivers ever for Auburn. And you bring back Ken Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane. You all expect those 4 to go in right away. The Freeze 4 class that, everyone's expecting big things out of those guys. And you add in Horatio Fields. You add in potential Eric Singleton. You add in the guys coming up from the 2025 class. Could this wide receiver core be the best core we've seen at Auburn? Just the talent in general. And I think it's very possible. I think you're looking at guys. I mean, we've seen Cam Coleman. We've seen Malcolm Simmons from last year, all season long. You saw flashes from Perry Thompson. You saw some of Bryce Kane, but not a lot. He didn't play it. I don't really think he even got into a game after the Alabama A&M game. But he had a couple of big plays. And then you take the potential you get from those guys, all 4-star plus 2 4-star or 2 5-star wide receivers. And I mean, Malcolm Simmons should have been a 5-star in high school anyways. And you add in guys like Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields. Horatio is a junior, and Eric Singleton, also going into his junior year. And then you have these guys coming up as true freshmen that you probably expect to see a little bit of, probably not too much, like Derek Smith and Sam Turner and so on and so forth. But I really think that this wide receiver core could be really good. You bring in a quarterback in Jackson Arnold who wants to run the RPO. He wants to play in this Auburn offense. And, if in fact you can get the best version of Jackson Arnold, I think it turns into a really good looking offense next year. And of course, we're too early to call for that. But regardless, I think that you're looking at a wide receiver core that potentially has more potential than what we saw from last year's wide receiver room, just with KLS in general. But because you only got a year out of KLS. But this wide receiver room, I think is, it's not hard to be the best wide receiver room in Auburn football history. But if you can add Eric Singleton, from what you've seen, you've now seen the highs of 4 receivers that you expect to be. I think Horatio more of a depth guy, and he'll fall in with probably under Perry Thompson or under Cam Coleman, and you'll see him get in there, and then you'll have Malcolm in the slot. So I'm expecting you to have, if you get Eric Singleton, have him starting on the outside. You'll also have Cam Coleman on the outside, and then Malcolm at the slot, and then behind each one of those guys, you'll have probably Perry behind Eric, and you'll have Horatio behind Cam, and you'll have Kane behind Malcolm Simmons. So you have a core 6 right there that you're expecting a lot of things from, and you have 2 4-stars. Eric Singleton, I think I can't remember if Eric Singleton he's a 4-star transfer portal wide receiver. So technically you got 3 4-stars, Horatio 3-star, and you have 2 5-stars in Perry and Cam. Potential wise, this could be the best wide receiver room Auburn's had ever. But you got to see it on the field, but you're not going to be able to see that until April, really, or February, or whatever spring practice starts. But potential-wise, it would be one of the best. And you can expect big things. I mean, you have to expect big things out of this year. This is a big year for Hugh Freeze because, I want to say the schedule is more manageable in 25 than it was in 24. And, Arkansas, I think you could see fall off a little bit. I think after every good Pittman year, there follows a bad Pittman year. Kentucky, downward spiral. Question mark around Vanderbilt. Don't really know where they'd be, but of course they got Pavia, so always going to be a struggle for a Hugh Freeze coach team. But yeah, in general, there's more winnable games moving forward. And of course, way too early to tell. We're talking about the 2025 schedule, and we're in December right after the 2024 season ended. It's not even over yet for other teams, but the potential regarding this wide receiver room is outstanding. And all you got to do is bring in Eric Singleton, and you got it. And if you don't bring in Eric Singleton, of course, I think that means you have 3 sophomores starting. You have Perry on the outside, Cam on the outside, and then Malcolm in the slot. And even then, I mean, the wide receiver room is already set up to look really, really good with those wide receivers. And, of course, you have the running backs by committee back there. If you can just solve the issues you had at offensive line, and I know you brought in some guys, and I'll believe when I see it. When I'm not going to get hyped, I'm gonna get hyped up about it. I lie, but I'm not going to be like, oh, this guy's going to be an all SEC caliber offensive tackle right away, because Percy Lewis has scarred me after last season. But yeah, I think I'm expecting big things out of the wide receiver room, and it's hard not to with the talent that's just all over that group. All right, so last football thing, we'll go to a quick little break. After that, we'll talk about some Auburn basketball. So Auburn had a little bit of a coaching carousel going on over the past week because you had Charles Kelly, who has now left Auburn and is going to be the head football coach of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. So I will wish him the best of luck. Charles Kelly, great recruiter, and just a great coach overall. Had ties to Auburn when he left Colorado. And Auburn's defense looked really good last year. So wish him the best of luck. Jacksonville State always will hold most of the small Bama schools will hold a small place in my heart because of just, especially because Jacksonville State moved up from FCS like 3 years ago, and now they're really good in the CUSA. But I think Rich Rod, who's now going to West Virginia, which is also funny because I have family in West Virginia, left that place in a really good standing, and I think Charles Kelly is going to continue it going forward. But leaves a spot open in the Auburn coaching ranks. Defensive backs coach. Auburn's not hired one yet, but Josh Aldridge left not too long ago to be the defensive coordinator for East Carolina, whichever one it is. ECU, the Pirates. And Auburn has since promoted a defensive assistant to be the outside linebackers coach. And former Texas A&M DB's coach turned defensive special assistant for Auburn last year, taking more he was off the field coaching last year. Now this year will be on the field as linebacker coach, and TJ Rushing. So yeah, again, coached at Texas A&M for a few years under the Jimbo Fisher regime, and was really good. A&M never really had a bad defense under Jimbo. Always had a great defensive staff around that defense, and it was always just Jimbo's offense that was always the worst part of those teams. So yeah, it's a solid promotion to give out. And before we talk about his recruiting, this guy brought in a 5-star Terry Bussey. Also brought in Denver Harris, a 5-star at Texas A&M. Spoke Bowie, a 4-star. A lot of 4-stars are on this list, 4s and 5s galore. So you lose Charles Kelly and Josh Aldridge, and you promote a guy up who is a great recruiter too. And now all you got to do now is find a DB's coach who can recruit with the best of them too, who can just fit right in with DJ Durkin and Crime Dog, and help build this defense into something even better than it was last year. I've always thought it'd be great to bring back T. Reed, but I don't know if Trevon would leave UCF. It's his first cornerback coach job. He's doing a great job over there at UCF, but I also believe he's looking around for head coaching jobs as well. But I'm never going to be opposed to the return of Trevon Reed to the Auburn Tigers, but But at this point, I'm not sure who Auburn gets right away. So, yeah, that's pretty much the updates on the coaching carousel at Auburn. We'll go to a quick little break. Let's have this break. We'll talk about Auburn basketball, who continues to prove that they're the best team ever. History of basketball, sources are saying. But a quick little break. Let's have this break. We'll be right back with some Auburn basketball.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
And, of course, available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop, and then you can find the most comfortable items you're going to wear in your entire life. Go check them out today. $50 for both, $25 for one of them. Very comfortable items. I'm wearing the hat right now. I'm repping all the merch, trying to commemorate the 2-year anniversary of the college loop. So, Auburn basketball. Oh, before we get into that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave your thoughts on the wide receiver room and who you think Auburn should pick up as the DB's coach. And again, thank you all so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, and for the 2 years of support y'all have given us over here at the College Loop. But yeah, Auburn basketball took on number 16 Purdue last night and absolutely put on a show. Auburn shot 50% from the field. They shot 38% from the three-point line, only shot 9 free throws, which probably not the best news for Purdue fans. They out-rebounded Purdue 39-34. They out-assisted them 24-13. Had more steals, only by one, really, 7-6. Out-blocked them 6-1. Had less turnovers and forced 12 turnovers on Purdue. Scored 23 points off those turnovers. Fast break points, Auburn had 17 to Purdue's 8. Points in the paint, Auburn had 44 to Purdue's 28. Fouls, Auburn fouled a lot more, 18-9. Purdue did not draw a lot of fouls, or did not get a lot of fouls, which led to Auburn not really scoring a lot of free throws. And largest lead at the time, Purdue had a lead of 1 at one point of this game. Auburn's largest lead, of course, 33 points. Just an absolute masterclass from Bruce Pearl and company. And, of course, we can talk about like MVPs of the game. Johni Broome, always going to be mentioned in that conversation. Yet another double-double, currently leading the NCAA in double-doubles. 23 and 11 last night. Also had 2 assists, which is pretty low for him. 1 steal and 1 block. He also had a great game out of Denver Jones. 15 points. He played great defense all the way through. Shot 50% from the three-point line. Had 4 assists. Played a true point guard last night. You also had a great game off the bench from Todd Pettiford, which he is just so good. He is everything and more from what we thought Aiden Holloway could be, and he is proving that on the biggest stages in the sport. 18 points, had a block, had 5 assists, and 3 rebounds as well. Also shooting 50% from the three-point line in 23 minutes. But just overall great game from Auburn. 8 points from Chad Baker-Mazara, who also had a great game. 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. From him. Dylan Cardwell had 6 points, 4 rebounds, had himself a block as well, of course. Miles Kelly only had 5 points, more quiet game from Miles Kelly. But regardless, it's a great game overall from him. And then 6 points from Ja'Kai Howard, who's ever since he's been back into the lineup, he has been showing out. And that's great news for Auburn because you were wanting Ja'Kai Howard to be right up there with Todd Pettiford in terms of, on the court, scoring, playing great defense, and being the Ja'Kai Howard that Auburn was expecting him to be from the get-go. Chaney Johnson also putting up 6 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal for him. This is another great game from Chaney. And, overall, Auburn, it's hard. And it's weird because the AP poll was always going to be the reason there's a number next to anybody's name until – March Madness, where the rankings turn to seeds, but this team truly is the best team in the country. And, you get people who admit it all the time. After they play Auburn, they're like, yeah, that team's really good. I believe Purdue's coach said after the game that, Auburn could win it all. And I wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, the way this team is playing, if they play this way throughout the entire season, like from when the season started to I can't remember which week of April it is, but this is like third week of April. Even played throughout the end of the season too. This team will be cutting down the nets. That is how good this team is. That is how much of this team I have seen and just so sure of it. I mean, I look back at the best team that I could think of in my memory of Auburn having with, the Jabari Smith year. I think this team absolutely whoops that team. Of course, there'll be some fight, but you got one of the best two-way players in Auburn basketball, two-way guards in Auburn basketball, maybe history, in Denver Jones, who can give you 18 and then can lock down the other team's best scorer on the same night. You have Johni Broome, who's the best player in college basketball, and putting up a good argument for being one of the best players in Auburn basketball history, just for sheer playing for 3 years now and just being the best. You have guys like Todd Pettiford who's lighting it up, and it's more than likely going to be a one and done for Auburn if he continues to play like he is. But this team is just so good. This team, the only weakness this team has is they have games where in the middle of it, they will just slow down. But they always overcome that, or at least they did it outside of one game, the Duke game, of course. But this team they're so good. They truly are the best team in college basketball. And SEC plays right around the corner. You got one more game left between now and Missouri, who starts off your season, who's not going to be an easy game either. You got Monmouth to kind of warm up and try to test out get some guys going who haven't been going all year, like JP Pegues and Jakeem Hudson, trying to get them to score a little bit more. But this team's ridiculous. This team is ridiculous. And I realized that on the right side of the screen, I said review. I meant review, not preview. But yeah, this team's ridiculous. This team is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll knock on wood for everything I said. Getting a little too bug about it, but it's hard not to be with this team. It is so hard not to be with this team. You take on a top 25 team yet again. Auburn has more quad one wins, double the quad one wins than anybody. More than double for some people. But you play a top 25 team and you beat them by 28. That's ridiculous. And another team putting a whooping on someone. Auburn women's basketball took on the Alabama State Lady Hornets yesterday as well. Yesterday morning, I believe, 83-40. You had 35 points from Deanna Gaston. You're out of, I believe they played in Louisiana, so you're away from Louisiana last week where they were saying Deanna Gaston. Deanna Gaston, 35 points. You had 16 points from Philly Sambane. Sarai Daniels had 8 points. Everyone who got in the game scored, which is always a great thing. Auburn out-assisted Alabama State. Auburn out-rebounded Alabama State. They out-blocked him. Forced a lot of turnovers. Forced 26 turnovers yesterday. And, of course, from those 26 turnovers, they scored 25 points. Had more fast break points, more points in the paint. It's outmanned and outgunned Alabama State in every way, which they should. I mean, I was about to say FCS, not FCS, but it's a mid-major team that Auburn should have done this to. Alabama State had a lead at one point in this game by 1, and by Auburn's largest lead was 50. Auburn also shot very well, shot 50% from the field, shot 42% from the three-point line. Didn't have the best day from the free throw line, but when you win a game by 43, it's hard to really find any negatives about that. But it's a great game overall for Coach Jay. Up next for Coach Jay and company, you got Norfolk State, another mid-major to kind of get you prepped and ready, get healthy. You're still down a few players. But after you get Norfolk State, you'll start off your SEC slate with 2 ranked teams, number 25, Ole Miss, and then you'll travel to Baton Rouge to take on number 5, LSU. So take some time to get healthy, get right, fix any mistakes you made versus Alabama State. But, of course, always just get healthy. And I'm still on the bandwagon here that this team is going to be in March with a seed that they earned and not have to fight for a spot in the March Madness tournament. But that's going to do it for this episode of the College Loop Podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the pre-recorded show. I'll make sure I'll leave the comments on so I can always go back and see if anyone had an interesting comment to make, and I can always talk about that on the Tuesday show, which will happen on Christmas Eve. And of course, we'll always have the episode go up. I'll be wearing my festive gear for that. But, of course, thank you all so much for listening and watching for the past 2 years. I love every single one of y'all. Everybody from the 937 people currently subscribe to the channel. And, of course, I'll update that every single time someone subscribes. I get a notification every time someone subscribes. So I always make sure I thank them every day whenever I'm on the show. I'm like, all right, thank you all for 938, 39, 38, 40, whatever it's at. I did some projections of currently supposed to hit 1,000 by my birthday, which I'm not opposed to. So yeah, that'd be really cool. But of course, thank you all so much for watching some of the College League Podcast. I am Dylan Larck on Twitter, and of course, I'm on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLENLARCK. And of course, you find me right here in the College League Podcast, right here on YouTube. If you like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to say that every single time. I cannot overstate that enough. And of course, follow social media as well: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All those at the College Loop. And of course, you have us on the audio version of the show as well on Spotify Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music. Now, with all that being said, again, thank you all so much for 2 years of the College Loop. And as always, War Eagle.